Hello everyone, and welcome to this unboxing video for Arkham Horror the Card Games, the Innsmouth Conspiracy. This is the 6th major expansion to the Arkham Horror the Card Game from Fantasy Flight Games. Whee! Their LCG, living card game. And this is pretty much the expansion that a lot of the community has been looking forward to, is specifically Innsmouth, because, well, that's one of the major stories from H.P. Lovecraft. And this has a lot of characters that people have been looking forward to their official release. In fact, this has 2 novella characters in it, both of which I already had. In fact, I'm playing them currently through the Dream Eater, which is the previous expansion, one for each side. So let's get to this. Box is the same size as usual. I'm still surprised we don't get larger or smaller expansions, although, you know, the Mythos packs are smaller expansions. And I say that because FFG has the tendency to go back and forth. Like, the second Arkham 3rd Edition expansion is just almost the size of the original game. Okay, and like usual, we've got some packs of cards. Most of this is just a cardboard filler. We have, and I knew this was coming, tokens for the first time in a long time. And the booklet, as per usual. Alright, so I know that there's some new rules right off the bat. In fact, they almost all, if not entirely, involve these tokens. These tokens are all new rules, for sure. But we've got keys, flood tokens, blessed, and cursed. And it has a clear reminder of seal, because there is actually a lot of sealing mechanics involving blessed and cursed tokens. But we've got keys, which are all hidden on one side. Flooded tokens, which have, I'm assuming, various degrees for their differences. And then blessed and cursed tokens, which are the same on each side. This is wrapped in plastic, but it's literally one sheet, like, ooh, tokens. So I'm not going to take your time with that. We've got our usual investigator cards, which, again, not going to bother going over because they usually use the same art for the character cards. And we got 3 packs of cards, like usual in an expansion. So I'm going to try to do these in order. Thankfully, they're numbered. Starting with, well, investigator cards. Although the investigators themselves are not here. Like, this starts on 6. So things are usually really weird on order. But, whatever. As long as they're all here. Like, this game puts its cards in really weird order for packing. So, in fact, I'm going to dig through real quick. Alright, so I went ahead and opened these off screen real quick because, well, they always put this stuff out of order. Like, for example, here's all the generic cards or non-treachery cards for the scenarios. Here's the cards for the 2 scenarios. In between those was the actual investigator character cards, and then in front of all that was the investigator cards. So we've got for our guardian, Sister Mary, the nun. She's actually less combative, I think, than even the psychologist, but I could be wrong. Her ability is definitely more messing with the chaos bag, because she just inherently goes, here's blessed tokens. Like, every round, here's 1. In fact, start the game with 2. I don't know if those are limited, but my guess is they are. Then we've got Amanda Sharp, the student. No idea how she plays. Trish Scarborough, the spy. If I'm correct, this is one of my friend's favorite investigators. Then we got Dexter Drake, who, again, I'm playing, and this is definitely one of my old friend's favorite investigators. He's very much, I'm just going to cycle through whatever I have on the table. He literally has an ability of toss an asset, play a new one for cheaper, and it's not even an action. Or at least that's how I'm interpreting. Oh, also, he's the magician. And then Silas Marsh, the sailor, who is just skill. Obviously, in the usual order, because I only said it for the first one, but Seeker, Rogue, Mystic, Survivor. Alright, then we've got all the player cards. Starting with the investigator's specific cards, where we've got for Sister Mary, Guardian Angel as her positive card, which is an asset with health on it. Interesting. It's not an ally. And her negative card is Crisis of Faith. Then for Amanda Sharp, we've got Obscure Studies, which is an event for her positive card, of course. And Whispers from the Deep being a negative skill. It's nice to see things that aren't just revelations play this. Then for Trish, we've got In the Shadows, another event. I imagine she's going to be a lot of play the more stealth thematic cards. And Shadow Agents as her negative card being an enemy. Now, while I am playing with Dexter and Silas, I am using different positive and negative cards because that's what the novellas really are beyond different art. They're different unique cards. I don't think I've talked about it before, but for future reference, for those that don't know, you can play with both positives, but if you do so, you have to play with both negatives. You don't have to choose one set or the other. You may play with both, or if they ever put out more than two, all. So, Dexter has an asset of showmanship. Doesn't take up a slot of any sort, but a negative of occult scraps. And if I've read this correctly, you have to use his unique ability to play this, which you can only do once around anyway, and means you have to toss out a different asset, because it specifically says can't be played as an action. Trust me, you want to get rid of it. And it's bad regardless. Silas has 2 positive cards, Sea Change Harpoon and Silas's Net. They basically do the same thing from what I've read. One is for attack and the other one is for evade, if I recall correctly. And then Siren's Call being his weakness. Then we get into the new regular player cards. Starting with Guardian stuff, we've got Book of Phasmal. Oh, new blessed item. Last I remember, there's a lot of blessed items, so Father Matoya is very happy. Speaking of which, next for Guardians, we have Blessed Blade. A decent staple in a lot of the other games. And Rite of Sanctification being another one. Oh, and one more! Hand of Fate. Love the art on that. Then on to Seekers. And after reading this one real quick, it's really interesting. I'm guessing we're going to start having things that benefit from doing stuff at higher shrouds. But we have Cryptograph Cipher. And then the quest card of Cryptic Grimoire. An event of Deep Knowledge. A skill of Plan of Action. Which, if I'm correct, that's Trish on there, who's the rogue, not the seeker. Then, speaking of rogues, we have the 25 automatic. Dark Rituals. A spell. Obfuscation. I only know how to say that because of World of Darkness. And Faustian Bargain. The Red Glove Man, who might be the devil. Yeah, that was a lot of spell rogue stuff. Dexter's off class as rogue. Then for Mystics, we have Sword King, which is really pretty. Tides of Fate. Words of Radiance. And then a 4 wild skill of Promise of Power. Definitely some curse token stuff on that. Then we have, for Survivors, with Rex being on the picture of the next one, Token of Faith. He does that thing that the guy from The Mummy does. Just carries around every single token in the hopes that one of them will help. Keep Faith. A skill called Predestined. And then another skill called Beloved. And we've got a new neutral card of Tempt Fate, which is add 3 bless, add 3 curse, and draw a card. It's also 0 cost and fast, so it basically just replaces itself. Then we've got actually 5 weakness cards. 3 different ones, to be precise. We've got Accursed Follower, so enemy. And these are all basic weaknesses. Dread Curse, which is add 5 curse tokens to the token bag. There are some cards that would benefit from that. From what I can tell, there's a lot of bag manipulation. And then what we only have 1 copy of, because it was a card designed at Arkham Knights 2018, which again is the Arkham Files Con, Day of Reckoning. Okay, so there's all the player cards. Decent amount of them this time. Then on to the scenario cards. So the first scenario is called Pit of Despair, with its basic card, and 3 agendas and 2 acts, and 6 locations. I'm guessing the treachery cards, if there are any, which there should be, are mixed in with the regular treachery cards. And I say that because right up next is the basic card for Vanishing of Elaine Harper. The name sounds familiar. Which has also 3 agendas and 2 acts. And then another card that looks very similar to the basic card, and I'm just going to stop waving it because it might be spoilers, called Finding Agent Harper. The back's definitely spoilers. With 13 locations, 6 of which all being tidal tunnels, all looking the same, and, well, are the same from the front, and was actually a location image for the previous scenario. Innsmouth isn't that big. And we've got the rest of the scenario cards, including 2 scenario-specific allies. Looks like they get kept from scenario to scenario, but I don't know where they come from. Their icon doesn't match either of the others, so it might be like the one from the Dunwich Legacy, which he is just his own icon. He even has his own divider from the Return to box. Although, got that icon over here. But regardless, we've got 6 treachery cards for the first scenario. 1 enemy, 2 copies of 1 treachery, and 3 copies of another. Then with that icon, we've got 6 locations that I'm just now realizing have treachery card backs. And a bunch of unique enemies, also with the scenario card backs. And we get into what I assume is the encounter sets proper, although I still don't see any for the second scenario. With the first one literally being just 4 enemies, one having 1 copy and the other one having 3. Then another one having only 4 cards, 1's an enemy, and 3 are 1 copy of a treachery. Then 6 for the next, 4 enemies, 1 copy of 1, 3 the other, and 2 copies of 1 treachery. 6 for the next set, which is 3 treacheries, each with 2 copies. Okay, I'm got a little confused because there's a screwy bit with the icons. Because I accidentally saw the backside of one of those tunnels that I mentioned from the second scenario, which might just be generic cards for the set in general. That icon that I was wondering about is the second scenario. But back to the rest of the treachery cards. We've got an enemy and 2 copies of 1 treachery for the next set, only 3 cards. Last time I saw that, it was Ancient Evils. Then another 6 treachery cards, 3 with 2 copies each. This one I'll actually show off, because it's just 2 copies of 1. Malfunction. I don't know what it does. I'm not rigging it right now. I just look forward to that screwery. Reminds me of Locked Door. Then next we've got 2 very similar looking treacheries, 2 copies each. One is basically in the background of the other imagery-wise. And then last we've got the ones that are probably going to fuck with us the most. But 6 more encounter cards, 2 copies of 2 treacheries, and 2 copies of an enemy. Alright. And that is everything for this expansion. So here's all the scenario cards and player cards. Usually random amounts. Still feels like there's a decent amount more player cards this time around. But, whatever. Apparently there's now over 2,000 cards in the game. Regardless, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to press that like button. If you think somebody else will enjoy this, feel free to share this video. Either way, I'll help this video get seen more. If you didn't like this video, go and press that dislike button. I won't mind, but please leave a constructive comment as to why. Also, feel free to comment in general, such as, do you like how I do these unboxing videos? Do you think there's a better way? Do you want me to spoil cards more, at least give their names? Or do you want to see me do a detailed overview video for those instead, where I will go through the names and in fact what the cards do and everything? Or anything else along those lines, like what do I think of some of the scenarios over the course of this game, or the investigators, or anything else along those lines, or like what kind of decks do I prefer playing? And if you want to see more like this, be it more unboxing videos, my board game overviews, my painting videos, all 3 of which I try to do for the Arkham File games, and anything else that I might do on the channel, feel free to subscribe. Regardless, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.